the fun that everyone was having, I haven't seen that on a set in a long time. Everyone who worked on it, you could tell, really enjoyed showing up for work. Because how often do any of us get to do that anymore?
It's like a dream come true. And I'm working with all of these people that I've respected and admired and looked up to for years. And they've all been so wonderful. I get to work with one of my favorite directors again, which is incredible. I get to kind of be silly in a way where, you know, I feel like a lot of the projects that I've done recently, I'm someone who's just traumatized. Or in this one, you kind of laugh at the trauma or just kind of shrug it off. Getting closer and closer to wrapping, I find myself already feeling nostalgic for the experience and just really, really grateful it's happened.
I think we all knew the only way that it could work was if Tim was directing, not just producing, or, you know, and Michael and Catherine were in it and, you know, were available to do it. The script was great. Tim was, you know, there was like a confidence. Like we didn't feel like everyone was looking over our shoulders and like the studio was, you know, like we felt like we were kind of left to do this. And so it was a really beautiful, creative chaos, which is just a wonderful place to be.
Her voice has not changed much. Yeah. And she's really, I think she's done a beautiful job being consistent with, you know, the Lydia we knew from many, many years ago. And Michael, too, just looks like he's in heaven. He, of course, didn't have to worry about aging because Beetlejuice has been dead forever. It didn't matter.
For me, then you start to use your own life experience. You start out, you're an interesting teenager. What happens to you when you become an adult? Do you have children? What are your relationships like? What have you become? You know? And so it was quite emotional for me to kind of revisit those characters, and because, you know, things happen to all of us as we get older, change, relationships, children, whatever. That was the sort of the nucleus of it for me that got me back interested in it. What happened to the Deetz family?
Astrid and Lydia, Astrid is typical teen, hates her parent, which is so strange because obviously Lydia is the coolest woman on the planet. She's dealing with the loss of her father. Her parents split before he died. I think she holds a lot of resentment and doesn't really know where to place her grief. So she kind of puts it on her mom, and also her mom's reputation as, you know, the ghost woman or, you know, crazy lady really affects Astrid's relationship with people at school, any sort of community. I think she feels really out of place, and she's okay with that if it weren't so obnoxious. And I think sometimes she thinks that if her mom wasn't there, a lot of her problems would go away.
The great thing about this Beetlejuice is the story is stronger, if you ask me. And he trusted the story, and I'm obviously, you know, not only integral, I kind of drive, but I kind of don't drive. Actually, Jenna drives it, and Catherine and Winona. Actually, I don't drive it at all now that I think about it. But it works better somehow. I can't quite explain it, except the story is stronger and you love the whole experience, and he's just a fun thing in it. Whereas maybe in the first one, it may have been, we can't wait till he comes on again, you know.
Well, you always get scared when someone does something that's a spin-off or a sequel or a prequel or something connected with a material from so long ago. But it was cool that they had a lot of the original people involved, and I thought it was a fun and clever way to revisit the material. And then, of course, the additions of like Jenna and myself and some other people. I thought this is good. This is alive. This is a good revisiting of the material.
I mean, just because I saw the first one, so I really thought that could be magic to do a second one. And I know that there are different generations, they want to see this movie. Because the world of Tim is a kind of fantasy world that all different generations love.
I also just love that they didn't, it's not a reinvention, it's not a a reboot of any sort. It's really just sort of in chronological order, 30 years later or whatever it is, the telling of the story of where these people are at and, obviously where Beetlejuice is.
Beetlejuice is a completely unique character, unlike anything anyone's ever done. I mean, it's so singular. The creativity that it took to come up with that character, which I think is a collaboration of Tim and Michael, but it really speaks to to both of their genius.
It's the first time I've ever seen an actor completely transform once the camera started rolling. He's so funny, but also just a really nice guy.
Filming anything with Keaton is astounding. I mean, first of all, just seeing him in the makeup for the first time is pretty impressive, because you just go, the makeup when you look at it is so lo-fi in a way, like it's just sort of dark eyes, like white face. It's part clown, part dead person, I guess. Being opposite it and then hearing him do that voice is just thrilling. Like you just kind of go, I'm now in this Beetlejuice movie. And I don't know, there's just, I'm not too old to not be completely tickled by that. And just watching his process, he's very, between takes, he'll sort of be running the scene in his head, sort of stood still, going like, okay, no. He sort of mumbles his lines, and then sort of action, and then he just sort of animates. And it's an incredibly high, as the first one was, it's an incredibly high energy performance where it's just sort of this schizophrenic quick cut kind of thing. So any scene with him was fabulous.
Pure freedom. Pure freedom. Pure, I'm just gonna go nuts. I've got an idea. I have no idea if this will work. And we never rehearsed it. You can ask Tim, but I'm 99% positive we never put it on film to look at it. He had already started shooting, and when I walked out of the trailer with looking like I looked, it was either going to work or it wasn't.
Working with Mike, again, it's that sort of back and forth. I mean, he's got such an energy and such an interesting take. So it's kind of like working with a prize fighter. So it's like, okay, let's try to do this and that. But he's just very clever, and he's very funny, and he's very good. So it's like you get something back. It's like they're not just they're giving back something, and there's a back and forth, which is very exciting to work with.
All the sets are really fantastical and incredible detail. I always feel like when the world is really complete, it sets the rules for the pretending. It tells you how to behave. And here, as fantastical as the sets are, as unrealistic as they are, they've got such detail and such a sense of purpose and color and everything that once you get there, you say, oh, I know what this scene is about.
Yeah, well, Winona and I were all like, we held on to each other walking onto the house set, because too, my husband designed the original, and this production designer has said he was very aware of that. He came and talked to me about it. He was respectful of Beau's work, but he's doing amazing sets on this. Really, really, art department's doing a beautiful, beautiful job.
It's also very magic to get in those kind of sets, because you are in a fantastic world right away. And this really helps as an actor to get into the role, and because it is a magical situation, even for you as an actor. And it doesn't happen all the time to have the chance to work in those kind of movies.
In your first early movies, there's something about them that is just different because you're new to it. And also, I worked with different kind of technology, but this sort of, working with live effects and puppets and makeup and sets, it's just part of the spirit of what that movie was, and there's an energy to that and a spontaneousness to it. I mean, even though we're dealing with live effects, we still were kind of making it up as we went along in some cases.
This is a hard thing to write because a lot of it was just created by E and I and Catherine and the cast and people. Really, a lot of it was, and still like that. Even the first one was well written, but it was then taken and then made into what it was and what it became, right? So to do that again is really hard. And we had seen over the years script here and there, and they weren't terrible, but they didn't get it. And the truth is nobody can really write it perfectly because it gets made when we start shooting it. It's hard to explain, how it comes together. It's really, really difficult to explain, actually. It's a unique creation.
Yeah. When you have a good script, then, it just gives you ideas. When something's not well written, it just closes your brain down. But when something's well written, and they're great inspiring ideas in there, then yeah, it makes you want to try things.
Yeah, this movie is like a museum of Tim's mind. Tim is very specific And he's also really open. On this one, I saw how much he related to Lydia, which I found really moving. I don't know if I knew that on the first one, but I saw that on this one, which it made me like emotional. It still makes me emotional.
Tim was and is so clear about what he wants and so creative. And you can tell he is seeing it all. He is seeing it all. He's just trying to express to us this amazing vision that he has. And he does express, but he expresses his need as much as he needs to. But you can just tell there's so much going on in his mind. And it's really just inspiring to work around somebody who is that creative. And he's so excited about what he's doing. It's great to see him as happy on this set as he was on the original.
Catherine O'Hara, needless to say, makes me laugh all the time. And she's just hilariously funny. I mean, she's the one actress one person in the movie that I actually made sure I got to go see scenes that I wasn't even a part of because I wanted to sort of see what she was doing in them.